Welcome to Fall Rise Give, a space where we invite you to dig into the real cause of your suffering, looking at opportunities for growth with a change in your beliefs, thoughts, and actions so you can be your true self and be inspired. Join us as we explore life's ups and downs and navigate the twists and turns, sharing stories of resilience, hope, and the transformative power of giving back. Whether you're looking for a change, in recovery, or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your go-to for candid conversations, raw emotions, and a whole lot of heart. Tune in and discover how to fall, rise, and give back on life's extraordinary journey. Welcome to another edition of Fall Rise Give. Turn struggles into opportunities by being your true self and help others. How you doing? I'm bartender Bob, and we've got two guests this time around. It's Chris and Cristina from the Robin Foundation. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today. We do appreciate you guys. Tell me a little bit about what the Robin Foundation is.
The Robin Foundation was founded after we lost my wife, Robin, Christina's mother. Opioids was the avenue that she took, and it's a very involved story, but she overdosed and died. Chrissy had a twin sister, Stephanie, who started spiraling out of control after her mother died, and for the next 18 years was in and out of recovery, detoxes, jails, homeless, trafficked, just a horrible, horrible way. But the good news is that prior to her passing from fentanyl poisoning, she had been clean for 9 months. She had just gotten custody back of her son, Christopher, who's now lives with us. So things were very positive and looking up. She decided to buy some heroin. There was no heroin in it, so we lost her in 2019. So the Robin Foundation, although it's been around for a number of years, really didn't have any kind of impetus until we lost Stephanie in 2019. And Chrissy said, listen, Dad, we can't be sitting on the sidelines. You can't be just sitting at home. We've got to do something. We've got to, change our pain into purpose. So that's really how the foundation was created.
And if I can just add also, so initially we really wanted to give more opportunities for recovery for women and children together, because that was a big part of my sister's journey. And that was it's a very hard niche. It's very few places allow women to go with their children, but it's an important niche because, it allows you to still bond with your child, still have your child there. So initially that's really what we were wanting to do is to create access for women to go to treatment with their kids. However, because the fentanyl became what it's become, DCF had presented us the opportunity to distribute Narcan. And with that, we knew, okay, well, we have to educate people on what's going on. And so we started with overdose prevention and education, and then the Narcan training and distribution.
So was it a hard struggle in order to get that going?
So, no, we were like all in. As soon as we got the first case of Narcan, we were out there distributing. And if you go to our website, you can see last year we gave out about 28,000 doses of Narcan. So we know we're making an impact because Broward County, where we are in South Florida, was the number 2 county in the United States just 5 years ago for overdose fatalities. Subsequently, Orange County, California being number 1. So 5 years later, Broward County has had the second highest decrease this past year of overdose fatalities because of organizations like ours. This isn't just a one organization, fits all. So that's our purpose.
Right. Well, you said you gave away 28,000 doses of Narcan. Do you give them away for free?
So I think maybe you were asking. My dad could explain it better. But how you contacted DCF to become a distributor, how we did that. that part, he was really much more involved. But yeah, we give it away for free. It's a grant
Wow.
through Florida, through DCF, and then that allows us to give it away for free.
Especially losing a mother and a sister for you, Christina. I mean, that must make you feel pretty good every day that you're able to help somebody else not have to go through the struggles and the loss that the both of you guys have had to go through.
Yeah, I mean, so like my dad said, I mentioned earlier, I think, I feel like if you don't have purpose for your pain, I mean, my mom was a hard loss. My twin sister was very different. Even though she struggled for as long as she did, and the years were very long and very hard, and the things that she experienced were just awful. It was devastating when she did die, and even though I just knew we had to do something, because life just doesn't move on. This doesn't happen. And I have 4 kids and plenty of reason to live, but
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't move on. So I feel like I think, besides saving lives, I think the most rewarding, I guess, part to me is that we get to show other people, like, you can still move on and do something, and honor, a lot of people don't want to talk about their loved ones that have died from addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So this also, like, reduces the stigma there as well. So yeah, it's definitely rewarding.
But you guys are kind of in a unique situation where, you said people don't want to talk about loss from addiction, but you not only lost your mother, you lost your sister. So, I mean, you had two, and they were, that would be terrible. Just thinking about it, when I read your story, I'm like, what the hell?
And people have lost more.
Yeah, I know, but how are you guys able to, get up on a daily basis and have purpose to life after such a grave loss?
I think also too is our faith, our faith. I mean, that definitely wakes us up in the morning. But
Mm-hmm.
again, and it is tragic, but you'd be surprised. There's other families that have lost more than 2 family members from addiction. And again, I just think that we're very blessed, because my dad and I are so super close. So that's also keeps us going as well. We can feed off of one another and support each other. But the foundation definitely gives us the purpose we need to keep fighting every day.
What has the biggest struggle been putting all of this together?
The biggest struggle is not having funding, not having enough funding to do what we want to do. As Chrissy had mentioned in the beginning of the story, our ultimate goal is to have recovery housing for women and children. But getting the Narcan out there and not hearing any results of your efforts, that's frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I see people that have given away far less, and they're quoting that they've had hundreds and hundreds of reversals, and that's great. But again, it's not like someone's going to quit. Hey, that was great. Thanks for the Narcan, saved my life. We've had a few of those, okay, but it's really the exception. But funding would allow us to do more things quicker. For example, I'm trying to have a bill or a law passed to have, you see this red cabinet behind me off my
Yep.
shoulder? That's an emergency opioid cabinet where you put Narcan in it. So we're trying to have a law that these cabinets, wherever there are AED cabinets, which most people don't know what that is, they're defibrillator cabinets. We'd like to see a law that there be Narcan in a separate facility right next to those cabinets. So we're working on that right now. We have a city of Hollywood, which is just south of the Fort Lauderdale airport, that has already approved a grant for this. So, and we've met with our local commissioner to see it being done on a county level, and we're, hopefully state level and possibly federal level. People need to get a lot more serious. And what concerns me, Bob, is that when you have numbers that are so rapidly decreasing, people are going to start taking their foot off the gas pedal. And that's what scares me. Because at the same time that's happening, Bob, the opioids are getting stronger than just the fentanyl. I used to say, the fentanyl is getting stronger, which it's not so much that the fentanyl is getting stronger. is these other substances that are opioid based, that they're adding into it. Like a big one is xylazine. That's not an opioid. It's a veterinary sedative, and a lot of the drugs are cut with that. So as much as the opioids or fentanyls are depressive, it just makes it even that much more difficult for the person to even breathe. So
I guess I didn't know about the whole cutting new things into it, because I know that they were cutting fentanyl into like heroin and stuff before, but now they're cutting other stuff into people are taking fentanyl as the drug of choice now. Is that what I understand?
literally, yes. And you know what? Chrissy is an addictionologist, harm reduction specialist, and has taught me so much about all the different drugs and ways for prevention. But yes, that's the problem, is that now there's a drug, it's called ISO, that's the nickname for it. And it's 10 to 40 times more potent than fentanyl. And now up in the Northeast, in the last 2 years, this is appearing quite a bit. So once it's up in the Northeast, it's going to start coming down here. And I think that's when you might begin to see the fatalities. The decrease is not as significant as we just experienced this past year.
In my small town of 191, we have a vending machine by our village hall that has Narcan in it. It's got like Band-Aids and stuff too, if somebody needs something like that. And it's got COVID tests and things. But I noticed the last time I was by the vending machine that the nose shots were all gone. So, I mean, somebody obviously is using those, and it's good to get that stuff in the hands of people. But at the amount that you guys are doing, at $28,000 that you said you gave away last year, there's got to be a cost to that. How are you guys raising money for that?
Okay, so the cost is not in the Narcan. The cost is in the delivery of it, of getting people out there. If we don't have volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do this. But again, if in fact we were able to afford a staff, there's a lot more that we can do. We could also have therapists. We could be paying Chrissy full time. As I said, she's very, very knowledgeable, but has had to take another job to sustain herself with 4 kids. So yes, having more money to do initiatives such as what I just shared with you, and other things that are recovery-based, that are evidence-based, it costs money.
But I think you were asking, Bob, so the Narcan we get for free. Florida, there's a grant.
Okay.
Florida, there's a grant that comes down from the opioid funding that goes to Florida DCF, Department of Children and Families, and that's how we get the Narcan for free.
Okay.
It's the opioid abatement funds that from the pharmaceutical settlement that goes to the U.S. government and is distributed to all counties across the United States. Those that have been affected most get more money, also based on population. Mm-hmm. I'm shocked, though, that when you said that you have 190 people and that there's actually Narcan, I'm going to be telling that story. I mean, if your community has the wherewithal to do that, that's what the rest of the communities around the country need to do.
Well, I know it too, because as you know, I'm a bartender and I work at a bar in Ferryville, Wisconsin here, but I also work at a bar in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where they have underneath the register, we have a couple of, are they called shots? Is that the proper term of? Yeah. Right. So we have a couple of those there. So that way, and it looks exactly like that. We have those there. If we need to use it, it's there for us to use. And I know that the Wisconsin Tavern League trains some of the managers how to use those, so that way we can use it if we need to. Thank God I haven't had to use it yet, but I mean, it's there for if we need to use it,
Yeah, the hospitality industry, Bob, in Florida, needless to say, because of tourism, so that's hotels, motels, restaurants, and bars. So we last summer worked with the city of Hollywood, passing out Narcan to hotels, restaurants, bars, donated some of these cabinets. But yeah, that's where listen, the number one place people are dying is in their own home, unfortunately. One of the top 5 places is either in a restaurant and bar or leaving one in the parking lot, mixing pills with alcohol. That's that's a big reason why we're losing people. So again, we're trying to push legislation that would mandate that every hotel and motel have Narcan on the property. Tell the story with Stephanie, Chrissy, what we went through with the hotel.
Well, so my sister was actually in a hotel when she overdosed and died, and there was not any Narcan on the property. So we did try to go back and offer them free Narcan and training, and they were just not interested whatsoever. So and I think it's also too the hotel. She was in a very nice hotel, and unfortunately, those types of places don't want to acknowledge that overdoses are happening there because again there's this belief, there's this stigma, which is so false that people who are dying of addiction or overdoses are um, people that are homeless, people that are, that don't have jobs. And, and I work in a treatment center, and you would be, all of the people that come to my treatment center are insured and have very good, viable careers. So that's to me one of the biggest pushes I have is trying to get people to understand that these are people that are partying on the weekends with a little bit of coke with their alcohol. This is where the because you were talking about this earlier, Bob. Yes, fentanyl is cut into all of these drugs. So that's marijuana, that's cocaine, ecstasy, whatever it is, because you don't see it and you don't taste it. So yes, the drugs are being cut with these other synthetic drugs.
We're involved with an organization out in Los Angeles participating in an event. It's a national event called Walk for Lives 2025. And basically, this is a grassroots effort to have communities rally around the country in their areas and getting the families and friends that have lost loved ones on that day to march with political leaders, with law enforcement as one. The reason I bring this up, not only because it's a national event, and hopefully in Wisconsin there are people that will hear about this and will go to walkforlives.org or the Robin Foundation and register and sign up. The chief strategist, her name is Lisa, a lovely lady. Her daughter was 30 years old, was not a partier, was not a drinker, not a heavy pot smoker, went home with two other girls, and she did decide to smoke with these other two girls, marijuana. She was dead by the next morning. It was laced with fentanyl. 30 years old, smoked pot, and is dead. That's unacceptable. That is absolutely unacceptable. It shouldn't be happening, but it is.
But it's weird that you would say that, because I know that with more and more states allowing legalized marijuana, that you're seeing more people smoke pot that you probably wouldn't have seen smoke pot in the past, and you would think that would be a safer thing than taking heroin or something else where you're shooting stuff into your body. And now they're lacing marijuana. See, that's the first I've heard of the marijuana and fentanyl lacing, and that sucks. I mean, that just puts us all on another heightened alert, of things that we need to look out for. And and Cristina, you mentioned that there's no taste, no odor, no visual, anything to it. So that sucks. How do we combat something like that as humans?
Well, I think also too, so with marijuana specifically. So yeah, so it may be legalized, but doesn't mean people are going to dispensaries. In order, if you want to make sure that your supply is what it is, then you would go to a dispensary. But if you're buying marijuana from the street, just a small dealer, you don't know what's in it, and they may not know what's in it when they're selling it. So it's maybe wherever they got it from. So.
What's interesting in Lisa's daughter's, Debbie's case, if I'm not mistaken, that pot had actually come from a dispensary. Not saying that the dispensary laced it with fentanyl, but sometime between the pot was purchased to the time that Debbie, her daughter, smoked it, someone obviously put fentanyl in it, which she was totally unaware of, and she paid the ultimate price. The other two girls did not die. So it's scary, and especially, Bob, with kids with vaping now and smoking pot, and Chrissy could talk more to this point than I can, but that's what makes it so scary, is that when you correlate what we just told you about marijuana now being laced with fentanyl in many, many situations, and kids, are smoking marijuana because it's usually the first path. It's either alcohol or pot, no different than we were kids 40 years ago. But today, it's a whole different situation.
Right.
Much, much, much more dangerous than when I was using. And I was, so.
Well, Christina, let's talk a little bit about that, about the vaping, because I see more and more people vaping all the time. I see younger people doing it, and I see people my age doing it,
I think with that, I think I was actually just telling someone last night that there are more vape and smoke shops than there are pharmacies, coffee shops. Like, I can't believe, like, or at least here, there's a vape and smoke shop every plaza you pass.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even believe that there's enough market for it, because and those are the only storefronts I see not closing. You have other businesses that are closing down, can't pay the rent and things like that, but I see they're opening up on every corner. No, I think that it's so accessible and it's so easy to self numb with just by hitting this small readily available pen or whatever. I just think that once somebody tries that and feels that little bit of like relief for a second, and it's so easy and readily available, I just think that it becomes a habit, and that habit becomes the addiction. And I don't think it's very complicated, to be honest with you.
Let me ask this question. So what advice would you give to somebody that's dealing with the same struggles that you guys had with losing loved ones, and wants to help out their neighbor, help out somebody else, so that they don't have to deal with what you've had to deal with, and what the possibility, basically all of us have the possibility of losing somebody from this tragic outbreak of people using drugs,
I think it's super important to educate and make people aware that it's as simple as going to the doctor and being prescribed opiates for a legitimate health reason. And next thing you know, they're like, oh gosh, like, you're physically addicted to it. It's not a psychological thing. You become physically addicted and you're sick without it.
I read something that a lot of people my age, because I'm 56 years old, a lot of people my age will go to the doctor, like you said, get an opioid because they're in pain. Then that runs out, and then pretty soon they're doing heroin, and pretty soon they're addicted, and pretty soon they've lost everything that they've had. And it's like you said earlier, Christina, that it's somebody that has a job, that has insurance, that has a family, that has a life, that's not somebody that's destitute and living on the streets, and
not at all. So that's what I think is so scary, is that people need to understand that nobody starts off as a heroin addict. And then when people do get addicted and the doctor says, no, I'm not writing you any more scripts, you've been on it for 90 days, 60 days, whatever, you're physically addicted to it. You are getting physically sick without it. So then people say, oh, here, you can go buy a couple pills off the street. Then those couple pills aren't available, or you can't afford them. And they say, heroin is the same thing, right? And they're like, oh, no, I didn't know that. Okay. Then they start buying heroin. Like, so it's not, I feel like it's really different from what people really think it is. It's not people, like, I don't even like to address it from the purpose of known addicts, people that are addicted to drugs. I like to address the population of that are really ignorant to this, which is me, you, anybody else that goes through a surgery, that gets prescribed a opiate and can easily become addicted.
You have construction workers, athletes, athletes with injuries go and get and even have the coaches take them to a doctor and encourage them, because we need them back out there, getting them pain medicine, not really caring of where that pain medicine is going to take that kid. And so many of them end up, like Chrissy just said, looking for other ways. DEA came out with a statistic last year: 7 out of 10 pills that they seize, are laced with fentanyl. 7 out of 10 pills. Pretty scary business.
Yeah,
especially when people are looking for Adderalls and they can't get it, so they run to the streets. Oh, my friend sells Xanax, not a problem, And what's crazy is that, especially in our presentations, the fake pills look better than the ones you get from the pharmacy. Say, how could that be? But it's true. I mean, they have become so smart and sophisticated, the cartel, Yeah, we're in this for the long haul, Bob. This is not going away because the numbers have gone down recently.
So what can we do? What can, neighborhoods do? What can anybody that's listening to this podcast do? What can I do?
My response would be to talk about overdose, talk about how easy it is to become addicted to opiates, talk about how easy it is to get laced with fentanyl by just experimenting when you don't know what you're experiencing. So there's all these different avenues that nobody thinks of. I think everybody is thinking, oh, if they go buy heroin, no, you can be buying marijuana, you can be buying whatever it is that you're buying and partying. Okay, so we have the partying avenue, we have the experimenting avenue. Oh, let me get an Adderall from you. I need to study this weekend. And so those are two big avenues. And then the other one being legitimately prescribed pain medication for a legitimate ailment. So I think it's just really talking about those things and those avenues, and talking about overdose prevention, talking about Narcan, and making Narcan more accessible. And it's as simple as, Bob, literally, if you look at the package, we say it's the 3 Ps. That's another thing people need to understand. I am more likely to, or I shouldn't say more likely, I am less scared to give Narcan than I am to do CPR. And I have to be trained every year on CPR. But Narcan is literally 3 Ps. So we peel back the back, or Dad has it. You peel it, place it in somebody's nostril, and plunge it. That's all it is.
That's all it is?
That's all it is.
That's easy.
So you peel the back off, you place it in their nostril, and plunge it like Afrin.
Just to follow up on what Chrissy was saying to your question, we have to start teaching kids at an earlier age. Yesterday, one of our volunteers, Francine, said maybe we need to create something where we can go in with kids that are 7 to 10, okay, who have seen their parents either nodding out or falling asleep on the floor, and giving them a 5-minute, this is what you should do if this should happen. So at first, it was I had the same reaction when Chrissy started telling me about some of her what harm reduction was. But the more I thought about it, yeah, we need to start getting into these schools a lot earlier on. We have to have laws and legislation that protect us on a federal, state, and local level, more enforcement on the same things. This is a multi-pronged, and of course, recovery resources. So this isn't one way fits all. This is certainly an aggressive approach that we need to be facilitating in all communities around the United States.
I want to say one other thing. Sorry, just to add this because I don't want to forget this. I think it's super important because I forgot about this, but this is something we reiterate very heavily in our training, Bob, is Narcan is completely safe for any situation, any child, like it could be a baby to an elderly person. The only thing that's going to happen is if the person is not overdosing from an opiate, the Narcan won't work.
Oh, okay.
So if you use the Narcan and you're, like even in our presentation, my dad probably would be annoyed that I'm saying this, but in our presentation, it shows, we discuss the different things that you can look for signs of an overdose, right? Me personally, I just say, use the medication. Don't waste any time. Use the medication because it's completely harmless. Use the medication, because you don't know if they overdosing from an opiate or something else. Use the Narcan. That's what it's there for.
So how do we find out more information about the Robin Foundation?
If you go to our website, there's also a 60-second video. It could be life-saving. It's just like CPR. And to see if, in fact, someone looks like or sounds like, as Chrissy said, an overdose, you automatically give them the medication. We have a lot of resources. We have a site where it'll tell you in every state where you can get Narcan in your local area. So please, everyone who's listening to this, please give yourself the opportunity to save a life. And it could be even your child's life that you save one day and get some Narcan.
Would you suggest everybody have one in their medicine cabinet or their junk drawer, or, you know what I mean? Access to it, I guess I'm asking.
It should be in every first aid kit, in every medicine cabinet in the country, bar none.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fall Rise Give. where we explore stories of resilience, growth, and giving back. If you enjoyed today's episode, please visit our website at www.fallrisegive.com. Also, consider subscribing to our podcast on your favorite platform and leaving us a review. Your feedback helps us to continue to bring you inspiring stories. Stay tuned for our next episode, and remember, every fall is a chance to rise, and every rise is an opportunity to give. Until next time, keep falling, rising, and giving. This is Fall, Rise, Give, produced by podcastforhire.com. Thank you for listening.